Hello, Toy Collector fans. Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to chat with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place, and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Okie dokie then, you lot. So we have come round to that time of week again for another episode of My Collecting Life. And I'm guessing the question on everybody's lips is, who is the guest on this week's episode? Well, why don't we all find out? Sit yourselves down, put your feet up, make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of the collection in a musical montage. Okay, then. So once again, we are treated to another superb collection. A little bit of everything. There was some Star Wars, a bit of Motu. Absolutely superb. And it's a pleasure to welcome to the channel, not for the first time, but properly on a one-to-one, Lamb Echo. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. Nice to be here and yeah, really happy to be part of your collection. As I was listening to one of your interviewees.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, he's made me look at this in a whole new light. It's like I'm collecting like interviews and stuff like that of
yeah,
collectors and stuff like that. So yeah, I never really thought of it like that. Well, I just want to say a massive thank you for being on the series, and thank you so much. It does mean a lot. Um, As you know, I've got 10 questions for you, all about you and your collection. Run time roughly about an hour. If we go over, not a problem. So if you're ready, sir, we'll crack on with the first question.
All good. Let's go.
Okay, let's get on with this. Right, what toy lines were you into as a kid, and what memories do you have of those toy lines?
Well, I don't want to like be repetitive with every other guest. Well, some of your guests, but yeah, I'd say Star Wars was probably was a big one for me growing up as a
Yeah.
kid. Uh, Thing is with myself is just I know growing up here in South Auckland and in New Zealand was yeah, probably I didn't really get to have toys.
Okay.
So we, yeah, wasn't I think it's just the way we were as a family. My we sort of like didn't have an opportunity. I think my first brush with toys was especially Star Wars toys was just at, at primary school.
Okay.
At primary school or elementary, as they would say in the States.
Yeah.
But yeah, primary school was probably the first time. There's always that one kid who has all the toys,
Yes.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
this one kid in particular brought his toys to school and handed them out to everybody, and that was and that was probably the only opportunity I got to play with Star Wars toys. And I had a
Wow.
friend that lived across the road that had them all, and I would go over and play at his place every after school every day. And
Yeah. Yeah. So what I
yeah,
mean, so I mean, you say about the kid that had it all. Look, I was in a very similar situation. I had two sisters. I mean, I was fortunate enough that when I was growing up, it was Star Wars, and that was primarily what I sort of like liked. Although I did like other toy lines back in the day, like Transformers, Motu, and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of that. But my main go to was Star Wars. So every Christmas and birthdays, from aunts and uncles, mum and dad, and stuff like that, it was Star Wars. But I had that one friend. He was an only child, and GI Joe, Star Wars, Transformers, Motu. He had the lot. So I mean, fair play. He's an only child, but so I do get where you're coming
yeah.
from, where you had that one kid. But what was it that I mean? So I'm assuming that you were aware of other toy lines other than Star Wars back in the
Oh
day.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, like everybody else, there was, because like growing up in the early '80s, well, mid to late '70s to the early '80s. Yeah, of course, there are other toy lines there, and I think a lot of them you just associate them, especially with the cartoons, and that was
Yeah,
probably the best marketing tool that toy brands could ever use was having cartoons to go along with them. So
yeah, yeah.
or vice versa. So
So was it
so
the
yeah,
cartoons that you? Sorry, go on. No, sorry, I'm interrupting. Sorry.
so definitely the toy lines, and plus we are at literally almost at the bottom of the planet, and so there's not too many that would come our way in that sense. Would probably get Australia's sloppy seconds, basically, because
Right.
most everything came through Australia, and then if we were lucky, would some of the importers would grab some from them too. So
Mm. So what about
and
toy
then
stores? I mean, were there any? Obviously, I'm assuming there would be like, yeah, toy stores and stuff like that. I mean, what were they like?
yeah, toy stores. I mean, yeah, we had one of the big ones here was Toy World.
Yeah,
And a lot of the Toy World stores here, they were like franchises, and so everybody was sort of that had their own different prices, and most of them were all marked up. So yeah, Toy World, and then you had your department stores that would have them in the aisles, which is
yeah,
pretty much similar to what they have in America, like the Walmarts and things. But
yeah,
we
yeah,
had, and so yeah, those were basically where toys were. There weren't really um, any individual places where just local toy stores sort of thing. It was just more of department stores, and yeah, Toy World was one of the bigger ones at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And you were saying about like the cartoons to like promote the toy lines and stuff like that. So was it the cartoons that you saw first that sort of like made you aware of the toy lines, or was it the toy lines that you saw from your friends and then it got you onto watching the cartoons? Which way around was that?
I think for me, probably the cartoons was, yeah, a big influence on the, on the toy, on me discovering the
Yeah,
toy lines.
yeah,
And just like how the movie Star Wars was, the big influence of going to get toys so that you can reenact these things anyway. So
yeah,
um and yeah, I had a cousin also that they pretty much had everything from the 12-inch Action Man, GI Joe figures,
yeah,
and they had a lot of Motu and things like that. And that's when it was from going to my cousin's place that I sort of saw the range of Motu action figures that were there. And yeah, they just had all sorts. So yeah, I've just been living vicariously through other people for most of my life.
Wow. So I mean, after seeing the Star Wars figures and the Emoji figures from your cousin and stuff like that, did you ever actually have like toys of your own that did you get your Star Wars figures or your Motu figures for yourself? Or no?
um, no, honestly to say, yeah, we just I didn't get any of my own. I did have. There was one Christmas. It's funny how you remember the Christmases that you actually got toys, because they were
Yeah.
far and few between in the days. Yeah, we sort of. I mean, I'm not like playing a violin or anything, but like in my part of Auckland, in South Auckland, was, it's a low economical like society, social place. And so, and especially my parents coming from the Pacific Islands, because we're from Samoa.
Yeah, yeah.
My parents born in Samoa, and to them it was just about working hard and trying to like build a life here in New Zealand. And so toys were on the back burner in that regard. So the
Wow.
toys we did get were either gifted from other people, or
Yeah.
um, one line my mum always said to us growing up, especially to myself, would go down these department store aisles, and I'll say, "Hey, mum, can I grab this toy?" And she'd be like, um, this is in Samoan, should be like, are you going to be full with it? And I was like, no. And I was like, yeah, put it back, put it back. So it was just one of those things where, yeah, it wasn't, we didn't have the extra money to actually go and like
Yeah.
splurge on a toy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but, but yeah, I think for myself, I'm sort of, I'm on, I'm, I'm one of the ones where you sort of like, you get to an age where you have the means to now,
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
these things were in the back burners, like things that you would have loved to have had as a kid. And so now it just becomes one of those awesome adventures about collecting. And that's part of what I'm doing, is just collecting memories one toy at a time. And
Yeah.
although I may have not have grown with or had that toy when I was young, I saw it, I got to play with it. Some kid at school had it, and yeah, and that was, for me, that kid always gave me, out of all his mates, he'd always give me the stormtrooper, and that's where my fascination with stormtroopers were.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And he always gave me the stormtrooper. But as you know, the stormtrooper, when you're playing with other kids and they've got all the main characters, you're the one who's going to be dying a lot. So so it was like, I was thinking, was that sad? But what it did is it just ignited this real love for stormtroopers.
But the thing is, the way you got to look at it is the fact that stormtroopers are army builders, so you never really die, do you? One gets shot and you come back to life again. You like sort of respawn and you're another one. Whereas if you shoot a main character, that's it, he's gone. So,
Yeah.
there's that way of looking at it. Um,
Oh yeah. True.
see, uh, so I'm finding this really interesting because the people that I've spoken to in the past have had sort of like toys as a kid and stuff like that. So I mean, look, I'm going to ask you the same questions
Yeah.
that I've asked these other guys. Obviously the answer is probably going to be like a lot different and stuff like that. But what was your favorite toy line as a kid and why? So although you didn't have the toys yourselves, playing for your friends and your cousins and stuff like that, what was your favorite sort of like toy line?
Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely the Star Wars toy line.
Yeah.
I think in the 80s we did move. We lived in Australia for a couple of years.
Okay.
Um, and that would have been in 1980, it would be 86.
Yeah.
So by that stage, yeah, our Centurions was around, and
Oh,
that toy
Centaurians, you've got
line.
them in because you've got those in your collection as well, haven't you? Centaurians.
Yeah,
I looked,
so that
I saw those and I noticed them in there, and I was like, I cannot remember what they're called. I cannot remember what they're called. Centaurians, yeah. God.
yes, so that was yeah, that was also a cartoon I was watching in
Yeah.
Australia at the time was Centurions, wrestling. I I yeah, and I don't know. I do remember one of your interviews. You were saying that you didn't see any wrestling toys on the shelves.
Do you know
Like,
that's the funny thing? I mean, so a few people from the UK that I've spoken to on this series, they said that they had the wrestling figures and stuff like that. I cannot honestly remember seeing any wrestling figures within the stores in the UK. Like I say, I remember the mask figures, the Motu, the Transformers, the Star Wars, the GI Joe. I vaguely remember Thundercats, Centurions. I really can't remember seeing any wrestling figures. But the funny thing is, saying that now you go into the stores in the UK, the toy stores, and it's just walls of wrestling figures. It's like that's like they all they do. There's no real Motu figures in there. They don't do Star Wars. They practically stopped selling those. So and what they do have is like I've got them. Do you know what I mean? It's not
mm,
up to date, but they don't keep up to date with the stuff. But and it's the same with the Motu. But yeah, it's really weird. I don't ever
no,
remember seeing any of the wrestling figures as a kid.
yeah. Well, I was just us talking about it in those Australia years made me think. It's true. Actually, I did have toys when I was in Australia. So, um, I'd say growing up in New Zealand as a probably from the age of 4 upwards.
Yeah,
Yeah, didn't really have any toys, especially the Star Wars Kenner ones. But when we did move to Australia, would have been, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 by then. And yep, I remember that first Christmas we moved to Australia. Um, I got a Jake Rockwell Centurion
okay,
figure
yeah,
for Christmas, and funny that yeah, that was the funny thing. Like I had that in Australia, and yeah, and in Australia, wrestling was everywhere. It was on television, and the toys were in the aisles. The big rubber guys.
yeah, yeah,
The LJN rubber wrestling figures were there. And my brother, for one Christmas, he was able to get the Ricky Steamboat. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with wrestling people, but
not really, no,
but
but it's all
uh,
good.
but yeah. So so yeah, the LJN wrestling figures, the mask line. Like I said,
Yeah,
in Australia, there was this kid, and isn't it funny that it's always the only child? But because this guy was an only child, but
yeah,
he had
yeah.
all the mask figures. He'd bring
Yeah.
them all in a. He'd have a school bag and a duffel bag full of just mask
I've got to
figures.
say, he's very brave bringing that stuff into school because I don't think I would have done because I remember like every end of term, it was
Mm.
we could bring like toys and stuff like that. Now we had a table football game called Subbuteo. I'm not too sure whether you've heard of it, but they
Oh,
did like
no.
a massive it was like a cloth pitch and stuff like that, marked out like a soccer pitch or football pitch, and you had like literally miniature footballers on little bases that you could flick around and stuff like that. And we used to set them up on the table. And I used to cringe because sometimes you think, "Oh god, don't break them, don't break them." I mean, these things were tiny, but to take your mask stuff into school and or your toys, I was always worried that I was gonna lose it or someone's gonna nick it or it would get broken or something like that. I was like, "Oh," so wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was actually surprised he had all those, and he would bring them.
Wow.
Um, just you talking about the soccer one, I think growing up, you know, we love, like, on our side of things, we love rugby and rugby league out our
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and growing up, and we'd used to simulate the games with the with the cards, the
Okay. Tops
yeah, they'd have
cards?
pops cards of rugby league players. And I just remember my brother and I would simulate the matches just using tops cards, lay them down, crumpled up a little bit of paper just as a ball,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just and
Oh,
that's
wow.
yeah, that was what it was like just growing up and playing with. We didn't have action figures or toys to play with
Yeah,
them, so
yeah.
we'd use the tops cards as and simulate games with them.
Wow,
So yeah,
wow.
just thinking
So
about
that
how you're talking about the soccer game.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or
That
sorry,
Christmas then when you got that Centurion, I mean, how was that for you? I mean, you must have been delighted.
oh, that was awesome. It was for me. It was just it's a memory that I always think about because we these things like when I think back, my folks, you always think, oh, for years they didn't really let we didn't really buy any toys, and then it got to a stage where I never really thought about asking them because I knew that they were trying to budget stuff. But
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
it a year was just because we'd moved to Australia, and dad got a new job, and things, how the grass seems to be a lot more greener on the other
Yeah,
side, and
yeah, yeah.
so he got a little bit more money than what we would have had in New Zealand at the time, and yeah, and then suddenly underneath the Christmas tree there was this Jake Rockwell, and so yeah, it's always one of my first memories of actually having something from my parents, but also appreciating that they spent the money in order for me to have it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, but I just remember that Christmas we were at our auntie's house, and they have a swimming pool at the back that they hadn't cleaned for years, so it looked like a swamp from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And water was green and everything. We're playing along the side, and my cousin hit the button that ejects the missile at the back of Jake Rockwell,
Yeah.
and it lands in the pool. Lands on the pool on that day, Christmas morning, and to this day we never found it. They drained
Oh,
it,
no.
still didn't find it, and so yeah, that's my memory of Jake Rockwell. But yeah, and that sort of became my mission to to try and get him back into the collection.
Oh, no. Cool, man. Cool. Um, so when did you stop playing with toys or like, going around your friends and stuff like that? And when did you
Mm.
become a collector? What got you into collecting?
Um, I think I've always been a collector. It may not have, and yeah, I've always been a collector. I'd say seriously around. I would have been in my late teens, maybe early 20s at the time, and it went from collecting VHS tapes to
Yeah.
DVDs, um, and would always I'd have a shelf in my room with toys on them, and yeah, everywhere we moved house, well, probably only once in my life at the moment, so and yeah, take them along. So I'd say like in the my early 20s started collecting, but seriously collecting,
Yeah.
I'd say blew up in the last maybe 4 years.
Whoa, hang on.
So
So everything that you've sent me in those photos in your intro, that's all been collected with it. You have gone overtime. You've gone, wow. What? That is
yes, so
insane. So what
literally.
was it? So what got you then? Because you know you said you were always like collected like DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that, or
Mhm.
whatever. What was it then that got you into collecting action figures then?
I think it all started out, to tell you the truth, like I don't know, like I'd say with some people, there's always that one thing that you need. And I think for me at work, I had a time in my life where it was just, I was, yeah, it was pretty much down in the dumps. I was having a hard time
Yeah.
getting through things at work was happening. And I ended up having to be off work for a year or two, basically.
Wow. Wow.
And as part of it, my wife offered our spare room, and said, "Hey, just make this your space." Um, and she said, "Yeah, just get whatever you want, like collect, just buy action figures or whatever, just
Yeah,
make it
yeah.
your happy space." And yeah, the floodgates opened after that, Stu, and I've been happy ever since. But
It's easily done, isn't it? It's easily done because
yeah,
once you dip your toe in, it's you all of a sudden you've been dragged under. You know, because you just go from one or two figures to like, ta-da, do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
mad.
you go from one or two figures to a toy shop, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
But it started with Star Wars again,
yeah,
and and the Black Series came through. I mean, I know a lot of our viewers and your viewers are mad 3 and 3/4 collectors and
yeah.
Kenner collectors and vintage Star Wars collectors. But yeah, my one started with Black Series, and I
There's
think
nothing wrong with
that's
that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no right way
yeah,
to collect. There's no wrong way to collect. It's all about personal preference. Yes, the three and
yeah,
three quarter inch line is the granddaddy of the action figure scale, or what have you. But yeah, yeah. Don't feel like
yeah,
you know
yeah.
it's all good.
Don't feel like that awkward cousin at the party. But I, I think it's one of those things, Stu, because I didn't have the connection with the Kenner figures, because I didn't grow up with them.
Yeah,
All I
yeah.
had
That's yeah.
was the odd 40, 30 minutes at lunchtime sort of thing that I got to play with one.
Yeah,
And so yeah, so there wasn't a real connection with the Kenner figures. Yes, there was a connection with the movies because I was at a great age of going to watch the movies,
yeah.
and and that was my earliest memory, was my first ever movie was going to watch Star Wars. So
Oh wow.
um,
How was that as an experience and a memory?
it's funny because I'm like Star Wars would have come out officially in the 70s and the 1977. So technically that would have made me about 2 years old.
Yeah,
But my earliest memory is when I was four, and in our local cinema, and just in our little suburb, back in the late 70s, this place only had that one cinema that was there. It's not one of these big ones like Event Cinemas or Hoyts,
yeah,
but they
yeah,
had that one cinema that plays old movies and cowboy movies and things. And so they must have had like another reshowing of Star Wars at the time, and I would have been about 4 years old, going on to 5 back then,
yeah.
and I have a strong memory of it. And I just remember I went with my uncle. My uncle, we went to the back. We pretty much it was just us in the theater, because it was a matinee movie time, so it was just during the day. And I just remember him. He bought me he bought me popcorn and ice cream, and then the movie had started, and then he said, "Just wait here, I'll be back." And little did I know that he popped over next door to the TAB to go and get on a horse, while there's this little 4-year-old in the cinema on his own. But I just remember the opening of Star Wars and Vader coming through through the
Yeah,
onto the Tantive 4, and I just felt this, like, I was like, yeah, I was scared because look at this big imposing figure.
yeah, yeah.
And but that was my early memories of Star Wars. And for some reason, I don't know why my friends don't remember, but in New Zealand, when the Star Wars holiday special came out, it came on TV and I watched it. And every time I would explain that to my mates and say, "Hey, did you see the time when they went back to Chewbacca's place and Han Solo went back there?" And they said, "No, I've never seen that before." I was like, "No, I watched it as a kid. I'm sure it's a memory. Yes, I did
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
it." And it wouldn't be till later,
Holiday
and then
special.
everybody sort of clicks on to the holiday special.
Yeah.
But
The
but
holiday
yeah,
special.
so that's, for me, and because I didn't have the toys growing
Yeah.
up, I don't have that connection with the Kenner or the 3 and 3/4 line. And I love the 6-inch figures, 6, 7 inch, because I just love how they're a lot more. You can see them, where they don't
Yeah.
get lost.
Yeah.
If you put a whole bunch, if you make dioramas and put a whole bunch of little Kenner figures in there, there's so much going on. It's great to have a look at, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm finding with the 6-inch line, you can make specific scenes just with those
Yeah. I mean,
figures that you
crikey. I
need.
mean, I collect the 6-inch line, the Black Series 6-inch. I mean, I don't collect as much as I used to. I've sort of like kind of had to cut back for space and for monetary reasons and stuff like that. I just mainly collect the 40th anniversary cards or just any anniversary figures that come
Yes.
out within the Black Series or exclusives. That's it. I don't really sort of like tend to go. Saying that, if there's a figure that I need to complete a team, then I will dive in and get him, sort of thing. But I tend not to get as much now, and I'm even
Yeah.
sort of like cutting back on TVC as well, because again, it's a big line. There's over 300 odd
Yeah.
figures now, and I just get the ones I like, and unfortunately, I like quite a few. But then it's mainly the original trilogy characters or the prequels that I want to sort of like get,
Yeah.
all TVC 1.0. But yeah, I mean, because have you got some NECA figures there as well?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
The
I think NECA are great.
Yeah, I enjoy I enjoy the movie line. So like all
Yeah,
your 80s movie figures, I've been trying to collect them. A lot of, since NECA, they don't. I guess they don't have too many licenses of them anymore, of those early 80 figures. But yeah, I love collecting the movies that you watched as a kid, like all the
yeah,
Arnold
definitely.
Schwarzenegger movies, some
Yeah,
Van Damme movies, RoboCop, all those sort of things. So
I've
yeah, that's how I've been doing. I've been trying to
yeah,
collect
and
all
I've
those.
noticed you got an Elvis figure as well.
Yes, and I think we spoke on the stream, the charity stream, about the Elvis
Yeah,
figure. And yeah, I love Elvis, so it's just I
mate,
definitely
you're a man after my own heart. I'm well into Elvis, and I'm assuming we've got a similar story. Whereas when I was younger, that's all my dad used to ever really play was Elvis. So I grew up listening to Elvis. And then by the time I was like 18, 19, I had my Walkman and stuff like that. The little cassette thing that you plug
yeah,
your earphones in and stuff like that. I used to walk to work, and it was probably about an hour and a half walk to work and stuff like that. And I just used to play Elvis, and I knew those songs off, off by heart and stuff like that. And it was yeah.
yeah,
And I his movies, I wasn't too keen on his movies, but I've got
mm,
to say that some of the songs in those movies, I quite happily listen to those. So yeah, I mean, I'm
oh
guessing
yeah,
it's the same with you. Grew up on Elvis.
yeah, definitely. It started with my aunt, who I
Oh
spend the holidays with my
yeah,
auntie and her son, and she'd say, "Hey, yeah, pop down to the video store and grab whatever video that you wanted, and grab me an Elvis movie." And so we'd always pop down there. We'll grab our action flicks and come back with her Elvis movie, and I'd sit there and watch it with her. And I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And then just it was always playing in the background at family functions and barbecues and
yeah,
things like that. And so yeah, I just love Elvis. My dad, because we're always influenced by our parents and their
yeah, yeah,
music and what they loved. and my dad loved Engelbert Humperdinck and
Oh wow.
you know
Yeah, there's a
those
name.
guys,
Yeah,
Tom
yeah,
Jones.
yeah,
So
yeah.
and I love them too. That's those are my go-to guys when it's karaoke. It's just a little bit of
Oh, you do a bit of karaoke, dear.
yeah, a
Oh,
little bit of Engelbert, a little bit of Tom Jones,
yeah.
definitely
Have you
some
done any?
Elvis.
Have you done any Elvis?
Yes. I used to do impersonations of Elvis. I
Really?
made my own Elvis costume and
Wow.
yeah, I just sing to the back to a backing and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So what's your
and
go-to song then? What's your go-to song for Elvis karaoke
it's always my one's always been Suspicious Minds.
tune? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What a
So
tune that is.
mine's always been Suspicious Minds, and even my wedding, I sung my wife into the Hawaiian wedding song that she
Oh,
walked into the
can't help
hall.
falling in love.
I sang
Is it that one?
the one that says, "This is the moment I've waited for.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I can
Which
hear
one was this
my
one?
heart sing." It's on Blue Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
So on Blue Hawaii, there's a scene there where his wife comes in, and and he's like, so yeah, I serenaded her into the hall, and
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and so
Oh, that's
so yeah,
cool.
Elvis has always been
Yeah.
part of my life and my collecting now. So I've got a
Yeah, yeah,
I've got
yeah.
I've got a shelf dedicated to Elvis, and
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool, man.
so
Awesome. When you said about Blue Hawaii, the only song that because I again, like I say, I didn't watch the films, and there's like,
mm,
my dad had the LPs and stuff like that, and I recorded them onto tapes. But the only song I know from Blue Hawaii was "Can't Help Falling in Love."
all right, yes,
That
definitely.
was yeah. So that's I've sung that at karaoke. If I Can Dream, I love that tune. So
Oh
I like
yes,
singing that, and The Wonder of You as well. I don't mind that. Don't mind that. So
and
yeah.
so
So
is that your go-to for karaoke if you were to sing when you did sing karaoke?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's predominantly If I Can Dream.
Wow,
I love that tune. Just think that is. I love the way he stands there when he's doing it.
yes,
He's in that all white, and he's got the big red Elvis like behind him and stuff like that, and he's just giving it some. And I thought, man, what a voice! What a voice! I mean, yeah, it's just. I mean, that would. And do you know what we say? I talk about toys and stuff like that on this series, but it's other things that influenced us as well as kids. It could be TV series, music, Elvis for crying out loud. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
there's so many memories and stuff like that as childhood. It's not just toys that sort of like, you know, and listening to Elvis, it made me listen to a lot more of that kind of music from that era. Like the 50s and the 60s and stuff like
yeah,
that. And it grew my appreciation to music. And I still don't think I mean, I know we say we grew up in the 80s where the music was fantastic and stuff like that, but I think those rock and roll years and then the early 80s, I still don't think you can kind of beat that kind of era for music, those
yeah.
eras, stuff like that.
Definitely, I think, yeah, and I totally love those eras, and and unfortunately, the generation now that loved them back then, you know, as they pass on, we, are like, because I think about my dad often and my parents, and
Yeah.
when like on an odd Friday after a long week, I'd pop over. Well, we all live together anyway. It's what we call the compound here, but
Yeah.
I'll pop over with my speaker and mics, and we'll just like have a jam in their room, and just sing the old
Yeah.
songs, and yeah, those are just that's I guess that's all part of collecting. Is it's what we collect, things that sort of mean something to us,
Yeah,
and
yeah, 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 definitely. Definitely.
and that's what basically my collection's about, is just things that mean something to myself, and
Yeah.
Elvis is a big part of that, and that's why I definitely had to grab an Elvis to put on
Yeah,
my
no,
shelf.
that is cool. That is cool. So if me and Georgie ever get to come over to New Zealand, I'm going to help PGM dig a hobbit hole. Right? And then what I'll do is me and you can do a bit of Elvis on the karaoke. How's that sound?
Oh, definitely,
Yeah?
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Right.
that's a
We
deal.
need to look into coming to we need to go to New Zealand because we go to America a hell of a lot. It might be nice to go the opposite way and go to New
Yeah.
Zealand and do stuff. Um, what do you currently collect, and do you have a focus on any particular figures or characters or toy lines?
Yep. Currently collecting, like I said, if I can pick up any action 80s action figures,
Yeah.
definitely Star Wars Black Series original trilogy figures.
Okay.
So I've been that's the only way I've been able to just put a little bit of structure in my collecting because, like you said, like TVC, Black Series, there's so many properties that have come in since, like Mandalorian, all these other, Disney shows have come out with new toys and things. But
Yeah.
yeah, because I started late with the Black Series, all of the original trilogy figures had done its run. So I've been lucky that some of the archive wave have come out, like picking up a Lando for the Return of the Jedi,
Yeah.
and so it's just been basically because the way that I'm collecting at the moment is I've been trying to elevate my displays by making dioramas that go along with them.
Yes, I saw your Ewok diorama. I'm liking that,
Yeah,
and your Jabba's palace as well. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. So so I've been just concentrating on scenes that I loved in the movies,
Yeah.
and just working towards what would make it look better. And so yeah, that's been an extension of the collection, is also being able to make things, and um, finding a lot more. It's therapeutic in the sense of just painting things,
Yeah.
and just cutting things out, and just placing them onto the shelves to create a world.
So
So
that Jabba's palace, what scale is that?
that's Black Series 6 inch.
Whoa! And you
So
made that?
I made that. So it's just
That is insane. Wow, that is
yeah. So
I thought it was the Hasbro version.
oh no, that's Black Series. That's so if you like,
Wow.
with my shelves, they're pretty much similar to your shelves. The cube.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I have to work with. So so
Wow.
I create dioramas that fit those cubes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is
And
insane. I mean, that how long did it take you then to do that diorama from start to finish of Jabba's palace? I mean, that is
probably
insanely good.
I think what made it longer was waiting for figures to be released.
Right,
So,
okay, yeah, yeah.
but the diorama itself took, I'd say, maybe 2 weeks.
Wow.
It was just, I was just, it's all about just getting materials, painting, waiting for them to dry, and then, and and that's the funny thing is I'm colorblind. So it's like half the time I'm like, oh, does that look like a brown or a green? So I just do the best I can. And at the end of the
Oh,
day,
well, honest to God, I thought it was the Hasbro one. I need to look
oh,
at that again. That is incredible. 6-inch. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And so
I like that.
if you look at the photo I sent of the one with the indoor forest, so
Yeah.
yeah, and just things like I just go into YouTube and see how people would make things, and I made the tree that's in the forest, the tree stump that's also there, out of clay and
And again,
things,
that's
and
6
so
inch.
that's 6 inch. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I just assumed it was 3 3/4 inch.
Oh,
I don't know why, but that is awesome, man. That's well done. That
yeah.
is quality.
And
Awesome stuff.
so I
And so
think that's
yeah, go
yeah.
on.
So that's where the collection is basically. And that's the same with the action figures, like the Terminator
Yeah.
and thing. I've got them like just up there, but in my mind, I'm collecting them with the thought of what am I going to build behind them to, like
Yeah.
just what scenes can I put them in? And so yeah, I'll do the same. I've got some Rambo figures that I've collected from I think 30 had company 30 had made them, and
Okay, yeah.
they look they look great. Uh, they're 12. They're 1/12 scale, which is 6 inch, and
Yeah.
so yeah. So that's me. I've just been collecting the movie lines, of those 80s movies, especially. Definitely got a John Wick on here also. So just things that, yeah, I, I buy toys now thinking, what can I make? Or, you
Yeah.
know, so yeah,
So
each,
so what's next then? As in like diorama, what are you aiming at building next as far as dioramas
um,
go?
yeah, my next one is I'm looking at the bounty hunter scene in Empire Strikes Back when
Okay. Yeah.
Vader
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
recruits them all. So I managed to get hold of the last two bounty hunters that I needed, which was Forlom and Zuckuss.
Yeah.
It's Black Series. So yeah, I picked those up, and now I've already started on the backdrops for them anyway. So
Wow.
because
Look forward
I
to
don't,
seeing that.
I'm also at a, I'd love to learn how to use a 3D printer, or because I see that now, but I'm also thinking, oh, I can't afford a 3D printer. I might as well just make it out of, just bits and
Yeah.
pieces and give them a
Yeah.
good
I mean,
paint.
I
And
think 3D printing is cool because I mean, I've seen a lot of cool stuff from
mm,
3D printing, but I just and this is not taking anything away from the guys that do stuff from 3D printing because, like I say, there's some fantastic stuff that they do with the dioramas and they paint it up and stuff like that. But
yeah,
to make something from hand,
yeah,
physically building it yourself, I just think that is so cool. And I've got a friend, Daniel Chart, and he's done his own like Star Destroyer bridge and stuff like that. So he's done all that. He's done his own, built his own cantina. So he doesn't need
wow,
to buy the HasLab version. He's got his own. He says that's good enough. And he uses all
yeah,
sorts of bits and bobs, greeblies and whatnot, as you call them, and just pen tops and whatever. He just, honest to God, and yeah, some of the stuff he's built is just insane. So I mean,
mm,
again, I take my hat off to people that are talented and patient enough to do that kind of thing because I know I'm not that patient. I'm not that talented, and I get frustrated very quickly. I mean, crikey, you've seen me try and get to a box. It can be difficult at times. I struggle with the simple things in life there, but there you go. But
well, that speaks volumes for Georgie, then, wouldn't it, Stu? I mean,
yeah.
she has to live with you for,
Oh yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Cheers, thanks. So, yes, yeah. I mean, she's very brave, bless her. No, yeah, she's great. Oh dear. Right. Do you have a sentimental or prized piece within your collection?
sentimental price piece. So I'd say there's a I've got a there's a there's a Arnold there's a commando figure
Okay. Yeah.
that's also in my collection, and yeah, that's also another purchase. It's something that I've been chasing for because it was along the lines with Jake Rockwell, because Jake Rockwell was another thing
Yeah.
that like I said, it's just things that you have like connections with, and so those are probably the only toys that I was able to get as a from my folks. So when I think about that, yeah, so I've got them in my collection now. The original ones are long gone, so I don't have those ones.
Yeah.
But it took a while just to track them down and try and get them complete. So those ones, yeah, those ones mean to me because they represent a parent's love for me.
Oh, yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Mm.
And what about a grail piece? Is there a grail piece that you want? You've seen something and you think, oh, I really like that. And it doesn't have to be the most expensive thing in the world. You can
Yeah,
see it at a toy fair or in a store. You go back and get it, and it's gone, and you've not seen it again for months on end, or whenever, or however many
yeah.
months or whatever.
I've been thinking about Grail pieces, and just recently I was gifted one,
Wow.
and he's not complete and that's because he gave it as a gift because my birthday's next week,
Oh,
Stu,
okay.
and it's the big 50 for me. So
Well, yeah, we've all been there. Well, a lot of us have been there, but yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm finally at the top of the hill now and ready to go down. But yeah, a friend of mine gifted a stormtrooper, the Kenner
Oh,
Stormtrooper.
wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah. How cool's that?
Yeah, it wasn't, and it's not in pristine white,
Yeah, but
you know,
yeah,
but it meant a lot. It means a lot to me because that's where it
yeah, yeah,
started for me, you know.
yeah. Of
And
course.
so that's become my grail piece. Basically, I'm just blessed that I didn't have to pay anything for it, but at the same time, somebody actually thought about it, you know.
Hmm.
And
I mean, do
so
you get the the Hasbro retro collection figures on the retro style card backs with the scuffed sign and the sides and the
yeah, no,
edges and the sticker?
I actually I didn't get them. When I think about it, I sort of I slept on them, but at the same time, because I didn't have that connection with Kenner figures,
Yeah, yeah,
it wasn't a priority to me. And you know how you say you collect all the anniversary editions of the Black
yeah,
Series
yeah,
on card. That to me is my you know my my version of those
yeah,
early Kenner figures
yeah.
because and although they're not Kenner, but yeah, that to me I also collected the whole wave of 40th anniversary ones
Yeah.
on card. That
Well, look, I
those are
didn't
the
even
only
know
ones.
those existed. I didn't even know they did Black Series. It literally
Oh,
was. We had a Toys R Us in a local town. We just went in there one Saturday on the off chance, and I happened to see Ben Kenobi on card back, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" I didn't even know and this was in 2017. I was like, "Wow!" And I looked at it, and the card just brought back memories. I thought, "What a great representation of a figure this is," and it's in
yeah.
6-inch form as well. Then I saw the rest and I thought, "Oh, I've got to get me these. I've got to get these." So by the end of that year, I'd managed to get all how many are there? There's all 12 and then the R5 and well, I think the R5D5 R5D4 was
Yes.
was it a Target or was it a GameStop exclusive? So I
Yes.
managed to pick that up at a toy fair or a convention. But yeah, I just think they're great. I do like them. I think they're detailed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but why
And
not, man?
and
They're cool.
and they're big. They're big enough to like you can see them
Yeah,
from
yeah,
across
yeah,
the room basically.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I've got. So the I did all Star Wars ones, and I've pretty much jumped onto the Empire Strikes one and the Return of the
Return of
Jedi
the
one.
Jedi,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
No,
those
I
are the
think they're
ones.
cool, man.
Yeah, they're the only ones I sort of keep on card, and everyone
Yeah.
else just gets ripped out of the packet and thrown into a diorama somewhere, you know. So
Yeah. Oh, are you an opener then? I'm assuming you're an opener. Do you keep stuff on cards as well or no?
just those, just the anniversary ones are the only
Yeah,
ones I keep on card. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but
Fair play.
everything else gets ripped open. I picked up the Playmobil 18 van just recently,
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. Good.
and yeah, oh, I loved them. So.
Yeah.
mm, Actually, I just set it up last night, so they didn't make the photos that I sent you because I only
Oh,
just set
okay.
them up
No
last night.
worries. No worries.
But yeah, that's an I'm sort of going down into another black hole with Playmobil because yeah, I also picked up the 18. I mean the Knight Rider car too from Playmobil. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the toy line that's been going for years, isn't it?
mm,
Playmobil. And then they've
yeah,
started doing all these like classic 80s vehicles and stuff like that, like Magnum, Back to the Future, Knight Rider,
yeah.
the 18 band and stuff like that. Yeah, I think they're great. Yeah, they're pretty cool. And I don't do you know Shabby Geek?
I have seen them. I've seen them
Yeah,
on
yeah.
your.
He likes a bit of Playmobil and Gem. He likes
Oh,
gems as well, bless him. There you go. There you are. What can you do? What can you do? Um, so in your photos that you sent for your intro, I saw you
yes.
standing behind a stall. I'm assuming that you do stall or you're a vendor at toy fairs. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. So
what
what
I
got you
did
into that?
I sort of added those photos, Stu, because it's something that you know how you do the charity stream.
Yeah.
Um, like I'm passionate about that too, about giving back to the community, and so at this one we have here in New Zealand, especially in Auckland, what's called the retro event, and every like I've so far at the moment, I've run the charity table.
Wow.
So
Okay. Cool.
those photos I wanted to include because yeah, it's also something I'm passionate about, going to a retro event, and I'll be there, I'll set up, and the organizer and I would just talk about who'd like to donate to this year,
Yeah.
or give charity. And it's not money, so it's basically you just roam around, or we'll put it out there on Facebook or wherever the event is being held, and just say, hey, look, how about popping around to the table? This year we're donating to this charity, or to like the Women's Refuge, and we just wanted to give toys for kids, less fortunate kids who are not, are not at home, because
Yeah.
especially during the COVID time, um, a lot of people were placed in motels and
Yeah.
emergency housing, and so a lot of those kids back then. So what we did was just we created the table, and had people donate toys, and then would just pack them up with some food parcels, and a bag of toys to drop off to the families and kids. And so yeah, so that's sort of my passion also. In terms of toy collecting, I also love giving the same feeling of having a toy to kids too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so at those events, yeah, I love to like run the charity tables.
How often do they hold those events?
Um, they're on a yearly. It's every
Oh,
year
so
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 far for
once
the
a year.
last
Once a year.
once a year.
Yeah.
So in November, it's around November. So the retro event, they run one twice a year. Um, the other one just finished a couple of weeks ago, but it's
Okay.
always in the November one, close to Christmas, is when I like I'll just say, hey, look, I'm willing to come and stand here at the table, and try and just drum up
Oh
some
man, that is
excitement.
awesome.
So
That
yeah,
is
so
awesome.
that's what we do, and I put aside things that have been sitting in my closet that hasn't reached my shelves yet, and I think, oh yeah, I'm probably not gonna do anything with that, and I'll just like squirrel them away until
Yeah.
November, and then come that day, I'll donate those also. And so yeah, it's all about, for me, it's just, we find so much joy in our collections, because half the
Yeah.
time I'll just sit in my room and just look at them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it brings joy to me. And then I thought, man, let's bring joy to other kids too, like give them memories of when they first received toys and things like that.
Yeah, that
So
is yeah, that's cool, man. I'm all behind that. So that's a fantastic effort. Good stuff. Yeah. Um listening to you there, it has made me feel a little bit emotional, to be honest with you. So but yeah, no, cool stuff.
yeah,
Let's
no,
move
that's
on before we start
yeah.
both blubbering and stuff like that, as I would, yeah. But no, listen, I'm all for that, mate. I really am, and it's it's testament to you for getting up and doing something like that. So I'll take my hat off to you. Nice one. Um, so what got you into starting your own channel? Did you have any influences
Yeah,
at all?
definitely.
Yeah,
I think for me, it became an extension of me doing things that make me happy, and
yeah,
and and I just love being able to, like, before I even started the channel, I was just watching hours of other people, YouTubers, and local Australian ones, and there weren't too many Kiwis out there apart from my mate, uh, middle age man
oh, Jason.
collecting,
Yeah.
yeah, or Jason. And so I was like, well, this is cool. And I think for myself, I wanted to share my my collecting, and there weren't too many like Pacific Island YouTube channels out there in regards
Yeah.
to collecting action figures. So I thought that's another thing. But yeah, I wanted to share my dioramas, and I loved watching other people make dioramas, and then I thought, oh, I wouldn't mind doing a channel. And then, and then watching your quizzes and things. which I must say, Stu is awesome. I think you're an awesome presenter,
Oh,
and that
I don't know about
and
that, but thank you. I just blag it. I blag it, but thank you. I'll take
and
it.
especially with I'd say even with the streaming, because like it's interesting with streaming with you when you got so many people all at once. It
Yeah,
can get a bit hectic in the sense of there's a lot going on, and sometimes some people get left behind because they're waiting for their turn, but sometimes they're just sitting there quietly listening. But what I enjoyed about the charity stream that you did was that you're it's just the way you present in the sense that you give everybody a little
well,
time to shine.
the way I see it is if I'm inviting someone onto the channel to do a live stream, I want them to contribute, and
Mm.
I think it that's why I like doing this series, because it's a one-to-one, so we can get to chat, and I don't have to worry about the chat and stuff like that with other people. So I'm liking that in this respect. And it is a whole different ball game when you're doing a live stream and you've got 3 or 4 people on there, or like a few people, like I did for the charity live stream. But and I think people that come on and do these live streams, they're sort of like wise to the event now. They're kind of experienced in, they know, that they, you know, there's other people there, so it's nice to let someone other, because I mean, some people aren't as outgoing as other people. So it's nice to get those people that aren't so outgoing and just go, well, look, I've invited you here. Let's hear you. Let's hear your opinion
Yeah,
and thoughts and stuff like that. What do you like, and that sort of thing. So I do try to get as many people involved as possible. Sometimes it is harder to do than other times. I will be honest, but mate, learn. It's all good. It's all good. And like I say, it when you're doing a live stream, you've got the chat to contend with, then you've got to try and listen to the other people as well and stuff like that. So if you're not listening to the people on there, you're concentrating on the chat, so you're missing what they're saying, and
yeah.
people are going, "No, but you're not putting up my comments." Oh, bloody hell! Just good God. But listen, mate, it's all good. And as for the quiz,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, tough going, but it's all good fun. And like I say, I
Yeah.
do try to get as many people involved as possible. So yeah, it's all good fun. So back to your channel.
It's
So when you do your dioramas, do you film the whole process?
I've been I don't actually film the whole process.
Oh,
Or I do take photos and things
yeah,
leading up to it.
yeah,
So the different stages, I do take photos of where I am and what I'm using and things, and then I'll try and put them all into like a just a montage of where I started to where it is now. And
yeah.
so I haven't quite figured out how to like have a camera going on while I'm doing it, and for that length of time anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, just with the channel and the diorama making, yeah, just love it. Red Wagon Dioramas. He's like, I was watching him. He does Black Series dioramas also. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then I was like, wow, man, I love that. Yeah, and like you said, it is. It's great just building something from scratch, and then
Just to be creative, yeah, and have that creative
yeah,
talent and stuff like that, and that imagination to because you see the sets on films that they make, and and you try and recreate that. But I think to try and recreate it, it's nice to put your own little bit of flavor into it, isn't it? And just
yeah,
tweak it
yeah.
up a little bit and do something a little bit different.
Definitely.
We've come into the top of the hour. I've got 2 questions left for you, so we'll crack on. What gives you that toy collecting buzz?
I think now it's about meeting the people too now, Stu.
Yes, yeah,
And I found it like with the channel, I found a little niche for myself in regards to um going to different places, going to different events
yeah,
all around the country. So I've been as far down as Christchurch and Wellington, like literally just traveled to Wellington for one day, met Jason, went to one event and then jumped on the plane that evening and back up to Auckland. But
Wow. Wow.
it's now meeting people. It's going to these places, and like especially with the charity table, it's just meeting people that come in just to give, and that's what gives me the buzz now. And yeah, deep down, I know what I want in my collection, but at the same time, it's just meeting other people and just seeing how similar you can. There's a lot of similarities between everybody you meet, and whether it be you collect the same line, or you grew up the same way, or you grew up in the same part of the country, and like even talking with you and having that affinity for music also, and
Mm.
and those people that we listen to, and so that's the buzz now, is just being able to. It's I feel like it's like feeling like Bruce Wayne and Batman. So you're Bruce Wayne during the week when you go to work,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you come back, and in the weekend, if there's an event, suddenly you're Batman. You're just like, you know, you change out of your
Yeah.
work mentality, that gear, and then suddenly you're out there, you're meeting people. And yes, I can understand that a lot of people who did start this, because the word nerd is, you watch these things in the movie, and like everyone associates people who collect these sort of things as nerds and things like that.
Yeah.
But then you also find that these people like to, and that's myself. I'm very like, I like to stay within my means. Like I'll go to work. Nobody knows I collect, and
Oh, wow. Okay.
there are odd few that would know, because I'm connected through social media,
Mm.
but most of everybody would just think, oh, look at this big big guy with a beard and rough and tumble, and no, that's probably something.
Do you, do you know the thing is, I look, up until a few years ago, I was exactly like you. I was a very inward collector. Obviously, my wife. Well, I hope my wife knew, because she was living with me. If she didn't, then she's been asleep. But yeah. So Georgie knew. Like my kids knew, my
Mm,
family knew, and like a few close friends sort of knew. That was it. No one at work knew. And I know I've said this story before, so if you're watching, I do apologise. I'm repeating myself, but there you are. But old age as well. You repeat yourself in old age. But I never told anybody at work that I collected. I didn't even tell anybody that I had a YouTube channel. And one day it got out that I did have a YouTube channel, and they said, "Well, why didn't you say anything?" And I said, "Because it's separate. I want to keep it separate from work. This is something that I'm passionate about." And ever since I've had a channel, and
mm,
being part of the community, I've been more outward with saying, "Yeah, I collect. So what? What's the big deal?" It's I don't have an issue with it. I'm quite proud of
yeah,
the fact that I collect. I'm proud of the fact that there is this community that I'm part of, where I get to meet people like yourself and other fantastic people around the world. I just and I think that's something to be proud of. So I don't really care for the you're a nerd or you're a geek and stuff like that.
mm,
Who cares? I
yeah,
don't care anymore. It doesn't bother me. You've got to be quite thick skinned to do this kind of thing anyway, but especially like YouTube. But I mean, as far as the collecting is concerned, so what? This is something that I love, I'm passionate about, and I'm sharing it with people around the world. So that's all I can say about that. And I don't regret it at all. So, and I felt more confident as well, bit like doing this kind of thing, because I was really worried that I wasn't how I was going to react to certain people, or to certain situations, to negativity. Who cares? If you don't like the channel, don't watch it. I don't
yeah,
force anybody to subscribe or comment, or what have you. You're free to do what you want. I'm not going to tell you to, or you know. So
yeah,
we're all different, and that's fine. But you know, I just be proud that you're a collector. Is what I'm trying to say. Just be proud of that
yeah,
fact, and who cares what people say? It brings you peace. It brings you happiness. It brings you joy. There's nothing wrong with that. And in the world that we're living in today, I think we need as much peace, happiness, and joy as we can possibly get. And if it comes in the form of like 3 3/4 inch figures, 6 inch figures, in your case, then so be it. We're not doing anybody any harm. That's all I can say.
yeah. No, definitely, 100%. I definitely agree. Um, there's been a big resurgence in this, anyway, because even with the MCU, with the movies and things
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
and they had superheroes, so it's it's been a in thing lately. So it's been, yeah, and it's great to see a lot of people now at these events, and just from all walks of life, and that's great. And I think this has helped me being able to go out and socialize more, in
yeah.
my, like, so it's been, yeah, it's been a blessing. And I think at the same time, yeah, it's just been healing. Just it's been healing for me. So yeah, totally love that experience. And
Well, no, and long may that continue, man. Long may that
yeah,
continue. Last question. What does your collection mean to you?
yeah. I think my collection means to me, it's apart from it being my happy place, it's I'd say, because I'm a visual person, Stu, and I always like to use things that, like, if you think about, I don't know, if you with Harry Potter, um, so Harry Potter, there's Voldemort.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember in the last couple of movies, he had to go and find all these Horcruxes,
yeah, 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 yeah,
So it's a little bit of Voldemort put into these pieces,
yeah,
and that's what the collection is to me. It's every little piece that I've curated. Because isn't that funny? Even I don't know if anybody else does this, but when you go to a toy store or a department store and you see things lying around everywhere, I end up just putting them all back into their different places, which is the same as what I do here. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm pretty much like unpaid. I'm an unpaid staff member of whatever department store I walk into anyway. But in saying that, my collection to me feels like that. Like it's a piece of me in every bit. So when you come in
yeah,
and you look at it, that's I can tell you why I did that, and where I was and what I was doing at that time. And whether it transports me 30 years, 40 years back, that's a little piece of me in
yeah,
everything that I collect. That's what my collection is.
yeah. And yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think everybody needs something. Everybody needs something, whether it's to look back on nostalgia, whether it's through movies, music, or toy lines and stuff like that. And again, you sort of mentioned the healing. It is absolutely, because I can come in here after a real crap day at work, and believe you me, there's been a fair few. I come in here and I sit and I'm in here for about 5 minutes, and everything sort of goes. Do you know what I mean? It's like the day seems forgotten about with work and stuff like that, and I can just sit and reminisce and stuff like that. And again, I've said this before, I can look at the old vintage style figures and remember my childhood and thought,
Yes.
thinking, what great times I had with those. Or I can look at the new figures, whether it's the 3 3/4 inch or the 6 inch or even the 7 inch, and I can say,
Mm,
wow, what great articulation, how things have changed, technology, and the figures that we're getting today with the facial sculpts and the photo real likeness and like you say, the articulation and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm
yeah,
yeah, absolutely spot on with what you said there. Yeah,
yeah,
it definitely
definitely. Well,
healing. And
yeah, I have a lightsaber. I've as a kid I had a stick, and now
yeah,
I've got a
well,
lightsaber that, like, it's
yeah,
heavy and feels like it turns on and makes the sounds. And yeah, it's like before that it was just a stick that I picked up off the ground and waved it around with
yeah,
making. So yeah, a lot of all these things is an extension of myself, and it's, yeah, definitely a place of healing and just relaxation and peace, and it brings joy because even my nephews and nieces would have their mates come over and then they'll say, "Oh, uncle, can my friend come and see your room?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And they'll come in, they'll just see their eyes light up. And I was like, "Wow!" And they're like, "Oh man, I'll stream in here any day." And I was like, that's already gone through, because apparently now kids can play games and stream live while they're playing video games, sort of thing. So,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
just even seeing that now, my nephews and nieces
Yeah,
and their mates coming through, it's just like, yeah, it's cool.
that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, I've got to say, I've loved chatting with you. Thank you so much for being part of the series. Unfortunately, that has come to the end of the conversation. Where can people find you on social media?
Yes, well, definitely my channel name is Lamb Echo One, or Lamb
Yep.
underscore Echo One underscore one, and yeah, and also on Instagram, Lamb Echo One. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
what I'll do
funny
is
thing
I'll leave.
about
Sorry, no, go on.
yeah, yeah. So just yeah, Lamb Echo One is like probably a phonetic way of saying my last name.
Okay.
So in Samoan, it's Lameko. So if you
Lemako.
say Lamb,
Ah, okay. Right. I see.
So
Okay.
that's where that came from, basically. And
Okay, no, no.
yeah,
Well, that's interesting to know. Interesting to know. What I would do is I will leave the links to your social media platforms in the
awesome.
description below. Um, like I say, wow, you've got a big heart, man. You've got a big heart. So, and I've really, really enjoyed chatting with you. You've come across as a very pleasant guy, and yeah, that is awesome. Thank you so much, man. For
No,
those of you who have stayed and watched to the end, thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.